Namaskar. Welcome to this new session. And we are discussing Vikalpa, what is called as verbal delusion. The Vikalpa is a technical term and it has been translated as verbal delusion. Itself is a delusion. Because delusion is not a good predicate. And therefore, it is not proper to render the term Vikalpa here as verbal delusion because no one wants delusion. So then Vikalpa becomes something that is avoidable. So that won't give a right impression, and we will not have a right perspective to understand Vikalpa. Vikalpa here is a technical term. Vikalpa is not as it is in lexicography, or you would get the meaning of the word in a dictionary. If you open out the dictionary and look at the word Vikalpa, you would get the meaning which is not embraceable, which is not acceptable, which is only rejectable. So it is not proper, at the outset let me tell you, it is not proper, absolutely improper to render Vikalpa into any other language, and now here in English as verbal delusion. It is not verbal delusion. Now, it's a technical term here. Vikalpa is a technical term, and therefore he has defined it. Patanjali has defined it. So, towards the end of last session, I said, let's try to understand the upadeyata of Vikalpa Vritti. So it is proper that we go on referring to this Vritti as Vikalpa only and not with any translation, because it is a technical term of the Shastra, technical term of science, technical term of Yoga Darshana. So it must be maintained as it is. So, last time I told you that there is Heyata and Upadeyata. There is rejectableness or reject worthiness and also embrace worthiness. That is called Upadeyata. And towards the end of the last session, I told you we will consider the Upadeyata of Vikalpa. How Vikalpa is something which need not be considered as rejectable and should not be weeded out from our vritti. Because our chitta vrittis are klishta and aklishta. So only klishta vrittis are to be weeded out. And the aklishta vritti gets restrained in samadhi. The samadhi is always founded on aklishta vritti, and when it is actualized states of samadhi, then that aklishta vritti will be restrained and it's not rejected. So this difference should be understood. Rejecting a vritti, weeding out a vritti, sorting out a vritti, isolating a vritti, abandoning a vritti, banishing a vritti. So that is not restraint. Restraint doesn't suggest banishing. So, coming to this Vikalpa vritti, then I told you that in the metaphysical field of description of Atma, describing Atma, it has to be described with some predicates, with some words, with some expression, and it is something that which cannot be described. You cannot attach any characteristic on it. You cannot attach any attribute to it. You cannot mention any attribute to it. But then still there are attributes. And I gave you that example that Atma is taken to be Chaitanya. Chaitanya means sentiency. Now, What is sentiency and how do you perceive sentiency or how do you conceive sentiency? The sentiency is conceived by movements. When any mass of matter has movements, then we say there is a sentiency in it. If there is no movement at all whatsoever, then we doubt the sentiency. Now, in all animate world, what is characterizing animate world? Which has movement, which has mobilization, which has throb. Like when a cattle is sleeping or an animal is sleeping, how is it that we infer that it is not dead? Because we can see the dilatation, distension in the belly. The body of that dog or cat, we see that it is dilating and distending. And that is a sign of animation. So, the baby, for instance, the baby will be moving the limbs. So, in our case, eyelids will be flickering, there will be movement of limbs, we can be moving the limbs, we will be moving the body, there will be dilatation, distension taking place in our body because we breathe. A sentient thing means it should be breathing. How do you characterize sentient creation? That we see that it breathes. Now, when it breathes, there is dilatation, distension. Then there are beats. Now, what is really beating? Tell me. Heart is really beating. Pulsation. So, where do you see the pulsation? So, it is something, an aspect of body. The pulsation will be felt in nadis of the body. The vessels, blood vessels, you can feel the pulsation there. Now, the blood vessels, the nerves, the nadis, they are all part of physical body. And we check the livingness or lively condition by heartbeat, by pulsation, by dilatation, distension. And that is how we understand sentiency or Chaitanya. Chaitanya is felt that way. Now it is the principle which is causing all this in the body. So the principle of consciousness or principle of sentiency causes something in that body of that being and mind of the being. So it is a consequence of that animate being sentient. That its mind will work, its body will work. Its body will have movements, the mind will have movements. But however, that is not what is sentiency. That is only for us some index to infer sentiency in something. So Atma is not that. Because of Atma, that takes place. The Purusha is not that which is throbbing or which is pulsating or which is dilating, distending. It is because of Purusha or Atma Tattva in that being, we see these things. It's quite a concomitance that if that is there, if that principle is there, you will see these marks that there will be throb, there will be pulsation, there will be heartbeat, there will be dilatation, distension, there will be a movement of body and a movement of mind. Animate things will be moving. And by movement we infer that it is an animate thing. But then, for instance, the tree, we don't see the tree moving. But still, tree is considered as an animate species. Now, tree doesn't have mobility. If the tree is moving, it is moving because of the wind. But then you get the flowers blossoming, blooming on the tree, the fruits uh, coming up on the tree, etc., the leaves coming and going. So these are the marks. If those things stop, if the trees are not growing on the tree, and the leaves are drying and then falling off, and no new leaves are coming up, and then we see the tree drying and drying and drying, and then it is going to fall. So these are all consequences of the tree being animate or the beings being animate. So Chaitanya is that animation which is testified, verified, identified by, as I said, the pulsation, the dilatation, the distension, etc., etc., the temperature even. There is temperature. That doesn't mean the Atma is of some temperature and therefore the body has temperature. All the biological creatures have a temperature. That doesn't mean Atma is in the heat form, and as long as that Atma is there, that there will be heat in that embodiment. So those are all consequences. So that is not the way to describe Purusha Tattva or Atma Tattva. Not by Chaitanya. Chaitanya is an effect thereof. Because Upanishads say Tade Jati, Tanne Jati. It doesn't, it moves, it doesn't move. So this is how Upanishads either define it in opposite predications. It is neither small nor big. It is small or big, or very, very small or very, very big. So see, this is how the Atma is described, or it is described by negative predicates. Ajanma, unborn. Now, the sentient beings are seen born. We see them taking a birth. But then, insofar as Atma is concerned, it is described that it is unborn. It is deathless. Now tell me, which sentient being is birthless and deathless? That's the sign of it. That is a mark of it. That's a primary characteristic of it, that it takes a birth and it dies. But metaphysics describes it as ajanma, unborn, and also amara, doesn't die. So therefore the descriptions that you get in Upanishads are of such kind. That is description in negative way. Because any dharma is not there in Atma. It doesn't have such sentient features, salient features rather, characteristics by which you can describe. Like you can describe the objects by their color, their form, their shape, their size, you describe. But this doesn't have any of such kind. It has no varna, no rupa, no akara. So it is nirakara, nirvarna, arupa. It doesn't have any caste and creed, etc. So there are no delimitations. There is no caste, class, creed, gender, status, stature, size, form, color, shape, nothing of that kind. So that is how Atma has been described. Even Bhagavad Gita takes recourse to such things. Now it cannot be burned, it cannot be wetted, etc., etc. Now what is it in the world that you come across such conditions. There is nothing except that one. And therefore, when the Atma is described in Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita or Smritis, Abhava Rupa Varnanam. It is called Abhava Rupa Varnanam. So, what it is not is primarily described. That is why Upanishads take recourse to neti, 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 not this, not this, not this. But yet it is described. So the whole description of this marvelous principle is by taking recourse to Vikalpa. So to understand the Vikalpa also in this perspective, where you cannot be any verbal expression. And the verbal expression, if at all there, will not really justifiably be ditto description of it. And therefore it is always Vikalpa that is embraced in Adhyatmic realm, spiritual realm. Now then you very well understand how it is Aklishta Vritti. When you hear about or when you think about, there is a thought about Atma, Atma Tattva, Purusha Tattva, it is invariably Aklishta Vritti. So see the enormity of Aklishta Vritti in Vikalpa, and the Klishtata is minimal. If you recall, last time I told you, the Klishtata is minimal there. So, Vikalpa Vritti should be understood in this perspective which Patanjali is trying to mention. Then I said about Vastu Shunya, about the description Vastu Shunya. See, one category of Vastu Shunya means non-existent objects such as sky flower, son of barren woman, horn of a hare, horn of human beings. So these are all existent things. That is one meaning of Vastu Shunya. But other meaning of Vastu Shunya is like this, which, as I said, a mystic saint and mystic commentator divulged it to us. Vastu means an object or a thing. The another meaning, the Vastu comes from Vastavika, or the word Vastavika comes from Vastu. Now in spiritual realm, Vastu, Avastu, Viveka is a kind of discrimination. In seeking spiritual evolvement, there must be Vastu, Avastu, Viveka apart from other Vivekas such as Atman, Atma Viveka, Nitya, Nitya Viveka, Shuchi, Ashuchi Viveka, Sukha, Dukkha Viveka. There is also Vastu, Avastu Viveka. In Adhyatma, the Vastu, the real, absolute real, is only one, that is Atma. But this is almost a non-considered thing for in the material world. In material world, what is real? Real estate, they say, something called real estate. What is real in that estate, tell me? For Adhyatma, it is unreal. In Adhyatma, what you call as real estate, what you designate or describe or tag as real estate, it is unreal in Adhyatma. But then we call it real. So, we have perversions. And the what is real? Money, name, fame, glory, recognition, popularity, or celebrity conditions. These are real things for man. So these are real things, and they are all actually unreal things. So what is really Vastu Shunya for a materialistic man is a spiritual goal. And that is why materialistic man doesn't want to take recourse to spiritual endeavor until he is useless in the world. That's why old age, people in old age try to embrace adhyatma, or what is called as spirituality. Why? Because they are no good for practical purpose of life and materialistic purpose and materialistic pursuit. They are no good for that. That is why they retire. And after retirement, they think of this Atma Jnana after retirement. Why? Because nowhere they are good, and therefore they try to dabble, interfere with Adhyatma. So the point is, it is really Vastu, no Vastu, it is Avastu. Even the parents are afraid if the child is trying to develop ascetic nature. The parents are afraid. So, with perspective of materialism, what is Avastu is Atma. And what is Vastu is name, fame, glory, wealth, riches, money, physical health, mental health, lifetime health. That is really which is sought after by man. And therefore, this is very interesting word that he has used, Vastu Shunya. And if you think that Atma really is an object, it's not an object. So it is not in that sense a Vastu. It is a subjectivistic entity, inherent and innate within us. So it doesn't become an object. So it is very much a subjective entity. And therefore it is non-object. In that sense, Vastu Shunya. So anyway, it's quite an interesting vritti which Patanjali has spoken of, and that is Vikalpa vritti. So I think with that we will end the discussion of the Vikalpa vritti. And now we will be going to the next vritti, which is Nidra vritti. See, again, a kind of spell of delusion on mankind and even those who read Yoga Sutras. Let me tell you again, Nidra vritti should be retained as Nidra vritti and not to translate it as sleep. Because Patanjali is not referring to sleep only. He is referring to a vritti which is Nidra, and sleep is one of such aspects in Nidra vritti. So again, there is a lot of blunder in translating Nidra as sleep. That is why he is defining sleep, Nidra. He is not defining merely sleep. So he defines it at that vritti which takes support of absence is Nidra. Why ordinary sleep be defined in that way? Abhava pratyaya lambana vritti Nidra. Abhava, absence. Pratyaya, the cause of absence. The vritti that takes support of cause of absence is sleep. Now, if you think over this definition of sleep this way, you will lose your sleep. I'm sure about it. So, taking support of cause of absence. Why does he describe in a roundabout way? No, it is not roundabout way. If you think he is describing sleep, then there could have been an easier definition to describe sleep, sushupti. So this is not a sushupti. Sushupti is not a vritti. Sushupti is a state. Sushupti is a state of consciousness. So sleep is a state of consciousness, and sleep is not a vritti of mind. Is that right? Therefore, we have committed a blunder in taking this as sleep. And then if you consider this as sleep, then it is really a roundabout way of defining and complicated way of defining, unduly complicated way of defining by words such as taking support of cause of absence is nidra. So strike it out from your thought that this is definition of sleep, which is one of the states of consciousness. So this is a nidra vritti. He is not describing nidra state. He is not describing nidra avastha. Nidra avastha is one of the states of consciousness, such as jagrata avastha, swapna avastha, sushupti avastha, and turiya avastha. Those are states of consciousness. So it clearly brings the word vritti here. Abhava pratyalambana vrittihi nidra. He doesn't bring that in vikalpa. Shabda jnana anupati vastu shunyo vikalpaha. He doesn't bring the vritti, because then it is deemed to be a vritti. Viparyaya. Viparyayo mithya jnanam ata dhruva pratishtam. He doesn't bring the word vritti there. Pratyaksha anumana agamani pramanani. He doesn't bring the vritti there, because then it is easily understood that pramana is a vritti, viparya is a vritti, vikalpa is a vritti. But nidra is understood as avastha. So in order that we do not misunderstand nidra as avastha, sushuptya avastha, he brings the word vritti in the sutra, which is so apt. So abhava pratyalambana vritti nidra. Even for smriti, he doesn't bring the word vritti, because it is quite plain and quite conspicuous, quite obvious that smriti is a vritti. Abhava pratyalambana. Of course, he brings the vritti there. Abhava pratyalambana vrittir nidra. This smriti. Anubhuta vishaya asamprabhosha smriti. He doesn't bring the word vritti there. So it is interesting to recognize this, that only Nidra Sutra has the word vritti. Other four do not have the word vritti, because obviously they are vrittis. We don't have doubt about those being vrittis. Pramana, no doubt being vritti. Viparyaya, no doubt being a vritti. Vikalpa, no doubt being a vritti. Smriti, no doubt being a vritti. But about Nidra, there will be quite obvious and faulty assumption, and therefore he specifically says it is not avastha. So he is not defining nidra avastha, he is defining nidra vritti. So at the outset, let me tell you, he is not defining sleep and sleep only. Sleep is defined, sleep is included, sleep is circumscribed. But apart from sleep, other vritti, other kind of our mental so-called states are also included. Now, if it is nidra vritti is a sleep vritti, that means he is suggesting that you must restrain sleep vritti. Now, what will be the life if you go on restraining the vritti of sleep? Whenever it is coming, you drive it away, because Patanjali says the vritti should be restrained. Now, if you consider nidra as sleep only, we are all trying to eagerly wait for sleep. We expectantly wait for sleep to come every day. Is that right? We don't want to banish it. We don't want to drive it away. We don't want to expel it. We are inviting it. We want it. Where is the aklishtata in sleep that we are inviting? There is no aklishtata in the sense viveka, etc. It is only, it gives ease, comfort, brain relaxes, mind relaxes, body relaxes, and that's why we want. Now, if the body relaxes and the mind relaxes, that is not aklishta vritti. Where the body relaxes is not aklishta vritti. Where the mind relaxes is not aklishta vritti. But where karma bandhanas are weakened and where vasanas are weakened, and where knowledge, essential knowledge dawns, it is aklishta vritti. Anyway, the nidra vritti is not just state of sleep. So this should be understood at the outset. So it should not be translated as sleep in English and similar words in other languages. This is a technical term, should be maintained as nidra. Taking support of cause of absence is nidra. That's how it should be defined. Not taking support of the cause of absence is sleep. Yes, that is also there. But it is not just that which is being circumscribed. And therefore, again, we are embarking upon very, very fascinating chitta vritti, which, after all, this has come in Darshana Shastra, understand. So this has come in Darshana Shastra, or that system which is divulging realities. Psychology is not a subject which divulges reality. It only describes your mind, your behavior, etc., etc., your reactions, your responses, your activities. The mind is not, psychology is not a subject to describe reality of this whole universe, whereas Darshana Shastra is to divulge the reality. So therefore, this must be retained as technical term and then proceed to understand what is this nidra. So, quite a fascinating subject and quite enlightening subject is coming to us now. Otherwise, sleep is not enlightening thing, you see. We don't get enlightened by sleep. But nidra vritti is something which is going to be quite an amount of enlightenment. So we don't expect that you should be hearing this sutra while going to sleep and you will understand better. Is that the way? So you should be extra awake to understand what is being described. The point is, apart from sleep, there are so many other vrittis which are of the same characteristic, where absence of support is taken. The cause of absence of support is taken. That vritti where cause of support of absence is taken, and there are some other vrittis. Let's try to understand which are the other mental modulations or mental functions and mental acts where cause of support of absence is taken up. And just Sushupti, once again I say, is one of those, not just that. So with that enunciation, we will be proceeding to Nidra Vritti. But that is for next time. Namaskar, all of you.